how did a young lady like you get into professional wrestling?
Well, okay, so I started watching it in 2001 when like Lita and the Hardy Boyz were like my everything. And so I watched back then and I was like convinced that I was going to be a wrestler. I was like, I'm going to do it. And my mom was like, no, you're not going to do that. But I would like do all the regular things like trampoline wrestling and like wrestling during the pay-per-views. I would have like pay-per-view parties and everyone would come over and we'd all watch together. And I kind of like watched it off and on through my whole life. And then once I was doing the auditioning and I hated the like scene of like just the kind of the people that I was surrounded by. I didn't like in terms of like doing the auditions and like the networking and stuff. So I started watching Total Divas and and I was like, that's what brought me back into wrestling. I watched Total Divas and I was like, holy crap. Remember how much I love this? And so I kind of like started falling down YouTube rabbit holes because I had missed so much because I hadn't watched since college. Like I really watched my freshman year of college, like hardcore with Shimmer and all that kind of stuff and Joshi wrestling. And then that was my first experience back to it. And I was like, I'm not really loving this acting thing. So Google found Nox Pro and then found Santino Bros, and Santino's seemed like a better fit for me. And here I am.
You guys actually do get a lot of girls through that school, which it's weird. Dev, have you trained with a lot of female wrestlers throughout your years?
No.
That's same here. I trained at SoCal Pro, and we had 2 girls come through, and both of them, it was due to WWE tryouts. They have a lot of followers on Instagram, and WWE hits them up and says, hey, come be a wrestler. And I always say this, everybody loves being a wrestler when there's a straight shot to, the big leagues. But when that straight shot starts to become a little bit more windier, maybe some U-turns, all that kind of stuff, that kind of tests how much you really want to do this, because it's painful, it's hard. And if you don't actually have passion for wrestling, you're not going to make it far. So we had 2 girls that have done that, and they fell off, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do notice that you girls up at Santino's, there's a lot of you basically.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that before I got there. I did have 4 girls in my class, which was, I think, one of the biggest amounts that they had. I know Ruby had gone through like a private she did private training. But other than that, it was just me, Thunder Kitty, and Mariah were the only graduates of Santino's that were females. And after that, that's why they had me help training once I made it through, because they were like, we need the girls that come through to see that there's somebody that they can relate to. And once I started helping training and Ruby kind of came in a little bit more and helped start training, that's when we really had retention of the females. And like, that's when we got Viva Van, we had Simone, Sarah the Rebel. We had like a big explosion of girls after that. And there's some really good girls training there right now. There's a girl, Sephora, who's, it just sucks. She was like going to debut and she's so good already. So I'm really excited for once that comes back for those girls and the rest of the guys that were working hard to get there. Been there for a year, like training. So
yeah. Dev, you got any questions for Heather?
No, I mean, I just imagine the whole experience is different. But it was funny you said, for acting, you hated the networking part of it. So wrestling, tell me, you thought that would be better. I won't have to network there.
Well, to be honest, it's kind of more, it was more for me. I was like, there's more of a clear shot to be a wrestler than there was to be an actress, because it's like, even no matter what level you're at with wrestling, you're still doing shows. And that wasn't really happening with acting. There's student films, but it was kind of like I wasn't really getting to the next level ever. And it wasn't like, if you do this, you're definitely going to be able to do this. And with wrestling, I think there was more of a clear shot for that. And I got really, really lucky with my situation of I trained for a year, and then I auditioned for a tour with a band, Pucifer, and was able to wrestle for 9 months on a tour for 5 days a week. So it was like, I just took off like that, actually seeing progress.
That's awesome.
So there was never like a question for me with that, because I think I got lucky with that situation.